all of a sudden the world has rediscovered hemp.
It's been around for a long time, as you know, Hemp A and hemp fields and all the rest of it. So it's been here for a long time. But I know why it was. Well, there is a story behind it. When they were trying to decide on alcohol, was it the referendum or something? Anyway, between alcohol and hemp.
Right.
They decided that they'd go down the alcohol route, but if they'd chosen to go down the hemp or the cannabis side, we'd be all smoking spliffs now rather than drinking alcohol. That's pretty much where the decision was made. I am on the hemp, but there's over 100 or so uses for the hemp plant itself. The problem is the equipment to actually extract the uses of hemp, whether it's hempcrete or whether it's CBD or whatever, is expensive. So we've got to look at the Jersey hemp. People have to look at what is the best investment to go into, and so what they've decided is the CBD side of it. So that's what they've invested in: the oil extraction and the CBD extraction.
But worldwide, you can't compete with the worldwide production, can you? Not here from a little Jersey.
We probably couldn't compete with worldwide production in overall mass because we're such a tiny little island. But what we can compete in and what we can lead in is the quality, and that's pretty much why I've been brought in. So, for example, if you the hemp plant, the industrial hemp plant, and the cannabis plant, they're very similar, very closely related. But obviously, one is psychoactive. The THCs are the psychoactive, and the CBDs are more of the non-psychoactive, but they assist. They're probiotic. But depending on how good the soil is, you can actually shift the quantity of the CBD or THC that the plant takes up. But that's the beauty about the hemp plant. It only takes 3 to 4 months to grow.
Right.
So it's ideal to fit in with the potato rotation, for example.
Right. Could you actually get several crops in a year if you wanted to?
We should be able to get about 2 crops of hemp in a year in Jersey. We haven't pushed it that far yet, but we should be able to. So I'm not here as a normal farmer. I'm here as literally a carbon farmer.
It's to work, I suppose you say it can work with potatoes. Is it to work in conjunction with potatoes or instead of potatoes?
In conjunction.
Is it?
So the problem about the potato plant is if you think of every potato that's grown in Jersey is mining all the minerals out of the soil. That potato gets exported with the minerals to the UK to benefit people in the UK. We buy in the majority of our food from the UK, minerals and all. That comes to us, we benefit from it, and then whatever we don't eat or consume gets incinerated. So there's no minerals going back into Jersey soils. We're starving the soils. The beauty about the hemp is what it does is it's got a long, deep taproot. It grows fast. It's a little bit like a weed. So what it's doing is it's rebuilding the soils, it's called nutrients recycling in the soil, so that when the potatoes are planted afterwards, because they are such heavy drawers, they will benefit. But the
potato more or less sits on top of the ground, don't they? Because they build up these little mounds for potatoes. So their roots aren't really going down very deep, are they?
Oh, they do. They do, absolutely. So they've got the bulbs, the bits that you see, the potato bits, are only part of it, but they have a huge root structure as well, which goes quite deep.
Alright. And when the potato comes along and the hemp's been there, how do you get all the hemp out the ground? Or don't you bother?
No, the hemp follows the potato. So the potato will go in. The potato will start going in around just after Christmas. It will be harvested around Easter. The hemp is very dependent on daylight hours, so we have to wait until the summer solstice, in effect, for the daylight hours to be long enough to benefit the hemp. So we would plant that, and it takes literally 3 months to grow to full size, and we're talking 6 to 9 foot in 3 months. It's growing incredibly fast. We could then get that out and another crop in, because which would take us up to Christmas, because the potatoes don't need to go in until after Christmas, and all that time it's sequestering carbon from the atmosphere because plants photosynthesize. So we're building soil carbon levels with the hemp. They're building the nutrient recycling in the soil, so when the potatoes come through, they should be a bit tastier.
Where does the brown beast fit in with this? What do the cows get out of this?
Cows love hemp. If you put hemp into a cow field, they'll charge the fences down. They love eating this stuff. It's good for them as well.
But could they be let loose? Obviously, they're not let loose amongst the potatoes. Could they be let loose amongst hemp? Presumably not.
No. So what we tend to do is we combine cover crops. So you know about crop rotation. It's not good to keep the same crop in the same field. So the following year we'd probably put in cover crops which the cows like, and we would use them as nature's bioreactors. So they would be like compost makers on legs to to provide that nutrient recycling into the soil.
Now, I know there's different parts of the hemp plant which are used for different purposes, but which part of the hemp plant are you farming for?
We're farming for the seeds and the flower at the moment. However, when we go drive around quickly now or whatever, you'll see the whole lot can be utilised.
Of course, they're talking about robots. Does that fit in with your scenario?
Robots can be, but they can be positive or negative. If the robot is programmed to build the soil food web, the life in the soil, rather than eradicate it with chemicals, then it's good. But unfortunately, a lot of these things are developed by the biochemical companies or the chemical companies, agrochemical companies. So the likelihood of them doing the right thing, unfortunately, is not looking too optimistic at the moment, but who knows?
Knowing how potato growing has been turned into almost like a hospital procedure, do you have that sort of, obviously your beginning, once you start selling big scale, are you going to be subject to all that sort of external regulation? People won't take your product unless it's super clean, super hygienically prepared. Is that going to apply to you?
No. We all depend on microbes to digest our food. When we eat something, we've got microbes in our stomach which digest that and make the food available to us. Well, it's exactly the same as the plants. The way we manage the compost and we're making sure there's lots of oxygen around, we're actually pushing for the beneficial microbes which are healthy for us, and they actually do us a lot of good. And you can see through the microscope we're doing counts, so we know what the plant requires. That's down there. This is Camellia sinensis, the tea plant. When we've done the analysis, you can see how the numbers differ to what's required, and all it's a matter of doing is to actually get the numbers to match. So we're not applying any synthetic, harsh or poisonous chemicals to the system at all. It's all what nature provides, and we're just working with the natural systems. So here's a classic. You get the soil food web right, you get that quality plant.
Right.
You don't, you get that.
Right. All right.
That's the difference. So those two plants.
It's got quite a stem on it, isn't it?
You can see, and that's three months growth.
Really?
So this is the valuable bit. This is what we call the flower. This is where the CBD comes from.
Right.
And then all these plants in here are female. If there was a male in here, he would have created the pollens, which would have turned these flowers into seeds. And that's where you get the oil from. But we've stripped out all the males, so we've only got the females producing this.
How do you know? They obviously make it obvious to you, which is
they do. They literally have pollen sacs, like a typical man. So yes, it's quite obvious. But you can see this is the valuable bit. So that stem there, between there's more value in that than probably all of that plant there.
Really?
And literally that is what the difference about getting the microbes and the minerals right. So this has got the compost around it, it's got the minerals in it, and the plant is responding. But this one doesn't and didn't, and it doesn't respond.
Is that wasted product in the fat stem? That's all useful, is it?
That's where the hempcrete comes from.
Right, that's right. Okay, you grind it up or do something with it, yeah.
But this plant alone will, when it photosynthesizes, 40% of what it photosynthesizes, the carbon it photosynthesizes, retained in the biomass, the above ground biomass. 30% in the roots, and then it's pulling carbon into the soil. So one whole field of hemp will pull down nearly 22 tons of carbon in 1 hectare. So, and we can get 2 crops out of it a year, whereas one tree will only pull down 1 ton.
Right. Is that about the normal maximum height, or will it go taller?
No. Well, this particular variety you can see one down there touching the roof.
Right.
This particular variety, it's about the height. But you've got, as I say, it all depends on the soil. And this is why probably the hemp from Russia was so good, because the soil was so good.
Yeah.
Well, we're hoping to recreate that here in Jersey, in all the fields we're working in.
Now you're under polythene here. Does it have to be under polythene?
No. We'll go and show you. Well, you've seen the field as you drove in.
Right.
That's all out.
Right.
Side.
So how old's that plant?
How old?
Yeah. How many months has that been going? 4 months.
4 months from the seed to that.
No, that's pretty good, isn't it?
We'll walk around the back there and I'll show you.
Does it smell? What is that? Is that plant?
Yep. So that's all the seed. There's about 30 tons of seed in there.
All right.
Which will be made into the oil.
So do you develop your own seed?
Yeah, it's all grown.
Your own seed?
Yeah. So that's all. We've already done the seed harvest, and this is now the flower harvest.
Right.
So each of one of these is where the CBD is in it, and Chris there is our scientist. This is the guzzler. You've seen this, have you?
No.
So we've spoken about how it all starts in the soil, and the food waste. So food waste will come along here. It can be a banana, it can be an apple, it can be chicken. So it gets thrown into this machine in the morning. So I pick up from restaurants. If you want to go into a restaurant and eat in a carbon-free atmosphere, you know that your food waste will be thrown into this machine here. Within 24 hours, it turns into soil.
All right.
And then that soil.
That looks like soil.
That soil. That was half a chicken 24 hours ago. And then this soil, if you use this to grow your crops, you can get nearly 3 yields a year out of it. We got 3 strawberry yields this year by growing them in this stuff, because it's all the plant's nutrients that have been recycled and back into the soil. So you don't have to put the chemical fertilizers in, in organics.
Fish,
everything, anything.
Like fish shells, because all those lobster shells which they make soup out of.
Yep. Anything that's waste, that's not going to benefit the consumer. Rather than incinerating it, we can get it.
This container is full of seed.
Yeah.
From your harvest.
Yes. Yeah.
How do you get the freshest one out? Does it matter? Because obviously
it comes out of this thing here.
Right.
And as it comes out, it gets cleaned again.
Right.
And then it goes up to the top where it gets processed.
Yeah. So that's processing for how long in the future?
We can process now. We do.
But how long will it last?
About a year or two. It can stay here. So it's got great big fans underneath, which we turn on every now and again. And then as soon as the flour is harvested, once we've separated it out, it goes into that strong box because of security. So that's why.
Wow. And this is basically the product which hasn't got an immediate use, I take it.
So we've stripped the flour off, we've stripped the leaf off to take all the CBDs, CBAs and all the rest of it, the terpenes and everything else out, all the medicinal and food products out of it.
Right.
And this is just literally the residue. If you can picture, this is one field, how many, if this was like a tree, would take a year to grow, this has taken 3 to 4 months to grow.
Incredible.
And if you stack each of these on top of each other, it will give you an idea about the capability of hemp to pull carbon out the atmosphere.
Right.
And then we can make this into hempcrete or mattress fittings or whatever.
Hempcrete interesting because concrete is suddenly, all of a sudden, people have realised that concrete, traditional, is not so friendly. But hempcrete, does it have a spec that building inspectors will accept? In other words, will it be an acceptable building block?
Oh, absolutely, and it's already been done. In Ireland, it's very big. In America, it's very big. Houses have been made out of it. It just doesn't take... It's a very good insulator, but it's also a very good breathing material. Right. But it's not very good at taking weight.
Okay.
So it's not a structural thing. It's more of a sort of like a filler.
Okay.
But when you combine it with lime,
But I mean, they do build houses out of straw bales.
Yeah.
So it's that sort of. But
No, it's
but
better.
more dense than that.
a lot more dense.
Right.
It's stronger than concrete. It gets stronger and stronger and stronger as it ages. As the lime reacts with the hemp, it toughens and it pulls in CO2. So then you've got the plant. The thing gets split. I don't know. Let me pull it out from here. So the actual when you split it, that there in between, that little white stuff there is the shiv. That's what you make the concrete out of. This stuff, and then the rest of it, which is the remains. This stuff is made for rope. That is the rope.
Right.
So you pull that from the outside. That's like the stalks from the outside, but the inside is made for.
So
concrete.
presumably, in theory, the quarries, as far as they're making concrete blocks, that could cease. It could, in theory, cease.
Oh, yeah.
You could go to making blocks.
Wood and hemp would be the two.
Would it? Yeah.
The two, because you've got the construction side, the structural side of wood, and then you've got the insulating, beneficial, whatever, of the hemp, and combined the two together, and you've got a very good environmental product.
In that form, is it dangerous for animals to be around that product?
No.
They can nibble away at it. They wouldn't do it.
Cows like it.
Do they?
It's like straw.
Really? So you could use it as a bedding material for animals?
Absolutely. But again, you need the equipment to strip part of it. You know, our biggest problem is the cost of the equipment. But if you look at the equipment as sort of like a carbon offset, because the plant has sucked all the carbon out, we just need to separate out all of the bits that contain carbon to put them back into the soil. Then you could look at the machinery as carbon offsets.
Right. The machinery, presumably that can all be run on fuel which is produced from the hemp.
Or from food waste, yeah.
So it can be a totally sustainable process.
And that's where we aim to get to. You know, we're not far off. All we need is, as I say, businesses who have a carbon responsibility to look seriously at offsetting some of their carbon, maybe buying a machine. We can give them the data for the amount of carbon that they've offset, and the benefits to the wider community would be huge.
You've got a few ex-firemen who are the initiators of this scheme. Everybody's on like the senator was saying, "Oh, we can lead the world, pudgy bum," all that sort of stuff. All dead keen, make millions. Is that realistic?
Very realistic.
Is it?
Very, very realistic. This product or this plant has so many applications, you know, and as I say, Jersey might not be able to compete on volume, but what it can compete on is expertise. And I would say this, you know, we are leading a lot of this hemp development here in Jersey at Warwick Farm.
You're going to tell me how you can get rid of the green stuff down on the beach?
Through that machine that I just showed you, the food dehydrator.
Right.
It'll turn it to soil in 24 hours.
Really? Just scoop it up and put it in the machine?
Scoop it up and put it in
there.
there.
And what happens to the dreaded salt content? Does that become a
Doesn't
problem?
matter.
No,
it'll strip the water out. You'll end up with a very, very good nutritious soil.
All right. Well, so presumably the infrastructure department are just banging on your door every day wanting to pump.
We wish. We can dream. But there's always an opportunity to talk to them.
That's another thing. I mean, the potatoes here, basically, there's a couple of big external companies have sort of taken over. They're marketing and... Will that happen to you? I mean, would that be unpleasant if it did happen to you?
It's not an area we've even, you know, we're so young, but there's no reason why we can't become the centre of excellence for hemp. That other small islands can come to us and learn from us. We see that. Whether we'll be taken over, who knows? You know, I think there's a lot of expertise that we've developed, our own expertise.
And you said something about in the UK they've had a hiccup. There's somebody's been closed down for operating.
Yeah, they haven't got the same licensing as we've got here in Jersey, so they're not allowed to grow the flowers in the field. They're allowed to grow the hemp, but they've got to chop the hemp and leave the flowers in the field and just use the bedding material or straw or whatever it is.
How about the other little place across the way, France? Huge huge acreage of land.
Yep.
They could grow. Are they growing it? Are they doing it?
I think so. I'm no expert on who's growing it. I think the Swiss are growing quite a lot. There is a lot being grown. Germans are growing quite a lot, but I think we are pretty much mostly. We're aiming to go the beyond organic hemp, so we want to be highest quality.
I mean, obviously, what you're aiming for, you want to be a scientific leader, set up a model.
Yes.
That others can follow.
Yes.
By the model. Is that
Yeah,
what it is?
basically, yeah.
Right.
So we want to have the best product possible, the highest nutritional, hemp products that we can grow, because the soil's right.